Call a timeout, shake hands, sing some carols, and have some food. Of course, in the morning, they got right back to, But the point is, if troops in World War I can call a timeout and have a great Christmas, us, in the height of a surging pandemic, can call a timeout and have a great Christmas. No one is counting calories. No one's worried about going to the gym. Heck, the gym isn't even going to be open on January 1st, which is why I say we put on our fat pants and have some fun. And that's exactly what we're going to do when we come back with Fox News contributor Emily Compagno, right here on the big bad one and only Fox Across America Christmas Spectacular.
I can't fight this eating any longer.
Interfering in a way that made their behaviors not entirely spontaneous and natural. Some have talked about the degree of aggression that you encouraged as they ended up fighting for bananas. Did you, at the time, worry about that degree of interference?
No, because, there was no protocols. There were one or two field studies of primates. They all had feeding stations, or almost all of them did. And what I was interested in right from the beginning was the behavior of the individual. That was also discouraged by the scientists. But all the chimpanzees I was learning about had the same kind of situation. So I wasn't so interested in what they actually might have done if I wasn't there. Admittedly, it did increase the aggression. And when I realized that, we stopped that feeding.
The key finding, and there were many, and we'll talk about several of them, but the key finding that still resonates through the world of primatology and animal behavioral science today was your observation, and it comes back to, I think, David Greybeard, the name you gave to one of the chimps, his use of a stick as a tool to capture termites and, of course, then to eat them. And it wasn't just the use of this tool, it was the shaping and modeling of the tool to make it as effective as possible as a collector.
I've often wondered how a man who knew he was going to die could stand here and say that he was the luckiest man in the world. But now I think I know how Lou Gehrig felt. It's been a great honor.
Their lives, their hopes, their aspirations, what they dream of doing, what it's possible doing. One of them very specifically wants to counter prejudice by showing 93, as they call it, to not be what the public image of it is, but to show it from inside and to kind of bring a respect to it from somebody who knows it and understands it and sees the positive side. And the film is interesting. I mean, the result, as you would expect, is a kind of mixed bag. There are moments of real insight. The thing about people filming their own lives intertwined with a kind of portrait of the area, there are moments in it that really make the heart sing, and moments in it that really make you think, I am actually getting an insight into these lives from the inside, from that unique perspective that you can only get from literally allowing somebody to film themselves and their own lives. So it could have been, I think it could have been 90 minutes long rather than nearly 2 hours, but unfilmed, dramatic, and it is available on Mubi.
Okay, so it's cracker time. Marks have been supplied by the programme. My cracker box arrived when I was at the recycling centre, so consequently I've just got ordinary trad crackers. So do you want to pull yours first?
Oh, it's like cap gun smells then.
Oh, I haven't had a good cap gun moment for a while.
That's nice. It's a kind of weird. What is it?
I don't know.
Well, I've got a thing.
hat.
Oh yeah. Here we are. Shall I go first? What is a cow's favourite movie?
I don't know. What is a cow's favourite movie?
Well, this is rubbish. Mulan.
That's rubbish.
I would say actually a cow's favourite movie would be Cowspiracy.
What did the snowman and his wife hang over their baby's crib? It's a snowmobile.
Snowmobile.
Pretty average. By the way, the score in the quiz is 7-all. I said it was 6-all. It's Mark 7, Simon 7.
How can we be on the same? You did so much better than me in the last round.
We've got volume 2 of our TV movie of the week. This is the Crimbo Limbo edition.
Oh, right.
This is that long, tortuous period between Christmas and New Year, which this year is guaranteed to be even more tortuous. Like the space-time continuum, it just goes on forever. posted the dozen best films on our subscription-free television on socials. The selection for Rom Yule includes Sound of Music, The Amazing Mr. Blunden, Inside Out, Minority Report, The Babadook, Mandy, and With Nail and I. Q-Dog says, oh my heavens, Inside Out in this year. It's beautiful, incredible storytelling, but the last thing we need to ring in or out of the year with a bing bong, our hearts won't take it. Thank you. Stephen says, Hunt for the Wilder People is an absolute delight of a film. A beautiful two-hander that left me speechless. Greg Shelley, given his love for it, probably Inside Out, but I think Mark also has an inexplicable love for the dreary Sound of Music. Lulu Bell says, Inside Out is by far Pixar's best non-Toy Story film. It helped my special needs child come to terms with some of his emotions and reminds us all that there is no joy without sadness. David Hopkins says, Minority Report, I'm convinced, had it been made by a hip new director, not Spielberg, it would have been greeted as a landmark science fiction movie in the way the inferior, in my opinion, The Matrix was a few years earlier. And Sven Rufus, a clean sweep. I've seen all of these, so I can say with confidence that the best of these is unequivocally With Nail and I, but I'm not going to pick it. No, that's not what people need right now. Now is the time for a double header of Inside Out and Hunt for the Wilder People. Oh yes, what are our TV movies of the week for Crimbo Limbo, the Interminable edition?
Okay, so I'm going to go for The Amazing Mr. Blunden, which is just wonderful. I mean, it's the Lionel Jeffries film, and I think it's his masterpiece. Inside Out, I'm going to go for Pete Docter coming up on the show in just a little bit. 1:20 in the afternoon on Monday on BBC One. And I'm surprised that this hasn't come up. The Babadook, 1:45 in the morning on Tuesday on BBC Two. Those are the three that I'm going to go for.
So the four worst movies on television during this period might be P.S. I Love You, Justice League, Allied, or Pitch Perfect 3. Richard says Pitch Perfect 3 was such a spectacular downfall from the first two. None of the charm and a complete lack of memorable performances. Ed says Justice League. I watched it twice. I can't remember who the villain was. Anyway, Blondie says Justice League cannot get past Superman's jaw. Worst special or not so special effect ever. Astrid says Justice League was such a disappointment. Pitch Perfect 3 was rubbish, but I still bought the trilogy. Daniel Goddard says Justice League, probably the worst film ever made. And Pippa Musgrave says Allied, truly woeful. What is the TV movie of the week that's so bad it's bad during Crimbo Limbo time?
Yeah, it is definitely Justice League, the Zack Snyder, which is 8:25 on Sunday evening on ITV2, because it is so boring and just, so dreary and not enjoyable. So yes, I'm absolutely going for that.
Okay, Pete Docter's going to be telling us about Soul in just a moment. New movie time first.
This is another documentary, which is Sing Me a Song. So Sing Me a Song is kind of officially, do we count it as a sequel? It's by Thomas Barmetz, who made Happiness in 2013, about the changing face of Bhutan as seen through the eyes of an 8-year-old monk. And then what this does is this catches up with the same character. So a decade later, obviously the film wasn't made in 2013, was when it was released, but it catches up with the same character he has changed, and so the world around him has changed as well. So electricity, which he was once looking forward to, has arrived, as has the internet, as has video gaming and advanced mobile phones. So his decision to move away from the monastic life towards something more secular, and I think by implication more trivial, seems inexorably bound up with the march of technology. And effectively what the film does is it ties the story of a child living a kind of fairly idyllic existence, who is thought to be the reincarnation of a lama, moving from this kind of isolated state of kind of perfection and bliss to some extent, to a teenager who is now welded to his cell phone and conducting a putative long-distance relationship and playing video games and trying to get things together to kind of escape into a life which isn't what he thinks it is. I've got two fundamental problems. I mean, they're not huge problems, but the first one is that I think the film, although it tries not to, it does end up doing a fairly basic job of kind of demonising progress and the internet, showing monks now as devoted to their phones as they were to prayer, and it's, I'm just not really on board with that. Everything was great before the internet came and now everything is worse. And the second thing is that like the doc that we talked about
If we don't
of when like the Beatles showed up in America and girls were like fainting at the airport. Like that was me with Santa. And I had that enthusiasm, and it was so tragic because I was such a fat kid that, like, looking back, there's no way Santa appreciated me as much as I appreciated him. Like, you know, when I got to the mall and sat on Santa as like a 300-pound third grader, there's no, you know, there was nothing in it for him. Like, I was the reason he went home and had, you know, probably 2 drinks before he got his boots off and told Mrs. Claus about his day.
Oh, Jimmy, no, in a good way. You are the kid that he came home and talked about to Mrs. Claus as the reason that he finds fulfillment putting on that red suit. Come on, look, this season is all about positivity, and so is today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all for the happiness aspect of it, Jimmy.
Oh.
You didn't. They sat there and you talked about your what is it? What big toy was it that you wanted?
Do you know what I
in the
wanted?
70s?
I'm not even kidding.
Yes, tell me
As a
that.
kid, I wanted, it was a Rocky toy because the Rocky movies were big and you could get like a Rocky action figure. And my dad took it one step further and got me these inflatable Rocky boxing gloves. And at the time, I thought he was like, wow, he's really maxing out my Christmas experience. But I realized he just wanted an excuse to beat us. You know, like, like looking back, he was just like, these bratty kids, maybe I can cuff them around the living room a little bit if we all dress up as Rocky. I'm not sure. But no, I did. I loved Christmas. And I appreciate you saying something positive about me this holiday. I feel like I'm now in a Hallmark movie, which, by the way, you mentioned that earlier. They all have like these, you know, cross-country Christmas or like bridal wave. They all have these weird titles, Emily. I would like some Hallmark movies where they really delved into, like, you know, some real Americana, like shouting match on the front lawn Christmas, you know? How come we never get that movie?
I think because you're on the Run channel. So they have movies and mysteries, which is the channel where it like gets a little bit more deep, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more shouting involved. I mean, yeah, if you want Bad Santa Incarnate, that is that one.
Well, no.
Also,
If you want Bad Santa Incarnate, go out with Emily Compagno on a Friday night after work. Let's cut right to the chase here. There's no reason to make these people go astray with a TV guide in their hands. Emily Compagno. Merry Christmas, Emily.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Jimmy, and your whole family. And can we just say, let's end with this. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not? Let's just for once and for all, can we put this to bed?
Let's just get everybody let's get everybody as riled up as humanly possible. I mean, Bruce Willis famously said that it wasn't a Christmas movie, correct? Did he not say that at the roast of Bruce Willis? I believe he did. But I think everybody associates it, well, obviously, with Christmas because of what it is, and also because of the time of year that you watch it. I think that's what dictates whether or not something is a Christmas movie. Like, you could argue that The Godfather is a Christmas movie because it's always on that time in that weird time of year. And if you remember, they actually released, like, back in the day, like Godfather 3, which I think they've tried to get an annulment for. But it came out on, like, Christmas, like, when we were kids, when I was a little kid. The Die Hard science, as they say, Emily, follow the science. I don't know that it's settled, and I know everybody has a passionate opinion on this, but you say it's a Christmas movie, right?
Yes, and to that argument, like I used to watch Little Women with Winona Ryder, that version as a Christmas movie. Also, to your point about if there's snow and red ribbon, it doesn't matter what the plot is. If it takes place during the Christmas season, it shall be heralded as a Christmas movie, and that's how I felt growing up for Little Women, Winona Ryder, and also Christian Bale.
Yes.
I mean, this was pre-Batman. This was the early 90s. That's Christmas, man.
Yeah, man. No, it is. Listen, I think the lesson to be learned here is Christmas is whatever you make of it, Emily. Whether you're celebrating it in July, like a CVS like you are, or you're watching Die Hard or Godfather like I was just espousing. The point is there's no bad way to have a good Christmas.
I agree with that.
I agree. And that no matter what day it is, 365 days of the year, if you say Merry Christmas to someone, then that means Merry Christmas.
I love that you're going to wind up on intervention. Like, I knew you loved Christmas. I just didn't know it was like this was going on now. You're like a Christmas conquistador. I'm actually kind of nervous, but Merry Christmas.
Oh, Jimmy, I love this. Thank you for this. From the bottom of my elf shoes I'm wearing right now to the top of my elf hat. Thank you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to our listeners. And I think the bottom line is that Christmas magic can be found any day of the year, especially today on Christmas. But that here with a Human Happy Hour and America's Life Coach, anything is possible. And for that, I thank you and I wish you a very magical and happy Christmas, my friends.
Ho, 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 Em. We'll always have this. There she goes, the great Emily Compagno. When we come back, country music superstar John Rich tells us why gamblers love the song Jingle Bells.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, subscribe and listen to the Trey Gowdy Podcast.
We've got to find a way to stop suggesting that the only way we can lose is if the other side cheats, or the other side suppresses votes, or the other side commits fraud. We can all lose. And all it takes is the other side to get more valid votes. And there's a reason we have words in the English language like upset, surprise.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. Fox News Radio. On air, online, on demand. The latest news, your favorite talk show hosts, the hottest podcasts. All in one place. America is listening to Fox News.
Fox News, I'm Steve. Site of an explosion that rocked downtown Nashville this morning.
Police say it was deliberately blown out. We're told trees were knocked down, windows blown out. The force of the blast also causing structural damage to several buildings in the area.
Fox's Charles Watson. The latest coronavirus relief bill remains in limbo.
All of this opposition from President Trump, that caught members of Congress from both sides of the aisle here on Capitol Hill off guard. They thought President Trump appears to be opposing this bill, the fact that they linked the $900 billion COVID package with the $1.4 trillion government funding package.
Fox's Chad Pergram. If the president does not sign it, the government could partially shut down Monday night. America is listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, it's the Fox News Rundown. A deeper dive into the major and controversial stories, tapping into the massive reporting resources of Fox News to provide a full picture of the news of the day. You'll hear a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else, going far beyond the headlines.
You know, I want people to know the truth. Nobody owns me. I'm going to do my job the same way, no matter who I work for.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. America's listening to Fox News.
This is House Call for Health. A recent study out of USC shows most people working at home because of the pandemic report new health issues, with higher risks for women and parents of toddlers, nearly 2 out of 3. Working from home resulting in about 1.5 extra hours sitting in front of the workspace, lessened productivity, reduced communications with coworkers, more were likely to suffer from neck pain, increased work expectations and distractions, and most are likely to have less job satisfaction. The study's corresponding author says the quality of the home workspace is important. A dedicated workspace signals that you're busy and minimizes the chances of distractions and interruptions. And being more satisfied with environmental quality, including lighting and temperature, is associated with a lower chance of having new health issues. Nearly 1,000 participated in the survey. It's published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. For more on the coronavirus, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
I'm Ashley Dvorkin with a Fox Celebrity Profile with actor Steven Dorff of the new MMA drama Embattled. Dorff plays a world champion fighter with an abusive past. His son looks to break that cycle, and the two eventually square off in the ring. For Dorff's MMA side, they took a cue from Conor McGregor.
His sense of humor, his over-the-top personality, and then his raw talent. And taking all that and then stripping off the Irish and all the stuff that Conor is, because I'm not playing Conor McGregor.
Dorff says it was a tough character to take on, but easy to let go of.
I kept thinking of what De Niro must have felt like when he went and played Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull. You know, this is not a nice person, you know, that he was playing. It's challenging and it's hard every day to do that.
While Dorff has dabbled in MMA, his training was to make the scenes as realistic as possible.
I gotta say, I mean, I've never been involved in a choreography situation where the fighting was really what the script was. You know, it wasn't about how do we make this round exciting and he gets one in and I get one in. It was much more storytelling throughout the fighting, which I thought was very unique.
Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A generous customer in Ohio that ordered a beer and decided to show his appreciation for the staff makes today's Dean's List. A man walked into the Cleveland Jazz Bar called Nighttown and ordered a single $7 beer on the night it was being shut down because of the coronavirus. He then dropped a jaw-dropping $3,000 tip for the staff as he was leaving. He told the owner, Brendan Ring, to share the money with all of the employees. Brendan says he looked down at the credit card slip the man had left, and when he saw the amount, he ran after him and said, "Make no mistake, sir, we will see you when we reopen." Describing the gesture as unbelievable but symbolic of the kind of quality folks he and the staff have gotten to know over the years, Brendan shared the moment on social media and said everyone at the restaurant is feeling humbly grateful for this incredibly kind and grand gesture. In times like these, we could use more stories like these ones. Janice Dean, Fox News.
That's why I'm drinking. I'm gonna drink all day. I'm coming.
As a footballer, but you're absolutely right, Manny. Now when I'm able to sit down with my family and extended family, I don't have an excuse anymore that I can't be there. So I'm still digging up excuses that could maybe exclude me from the family shenanigans, I guess that you can say. But yeah, now I'm just one of the normal people.
Well, as it's holiday season in most of the world, we're going to enjoy some football stories. Our special guest this week is Thomas Rongen. He was born in Amsterdam but made his name playing and coaching in the United States. In the 1980s he played with or against the likes of Cruyff, Beckenbauer and Best. Thomas has also coached American Samoa and was the first man to receive the MLS Coach of the Year award in 1996 when he was with Tampa Bay Mutiny. Thomas, welcome to the programme. It's great to have you back. If it wasn't for the fact that COVID-19 has dominated this year, many football fans will remember 2020 as the year in which Diego Maradona died. And I understand that you spent some time with him. What was that like? What was the situation there?
Very interesting one. Thanks, Manny, Pat, and Heather, having me on this Christmas special. I certainly appreciate that. But yeah, I've gone through some very interesting cycles in my career. This was one when I was the head coach of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. After the North American Soccer League, the big league with Pele, Beckenbauer, and some of the names that you talked about folded, there were certain people that tried to keep professional soccer alive. So that's the late 80s, early 90s. And we were able to convince Lalu, the Strikers, and Diego Maradona would, on a rare occasion, travel to Fort Lauderdale and spend some time, obviously, with his brother, but also time with some of the people that were part of the organization, like myself as an head coach. And then subsequently, I used to travel to Buenos Aires quite often when I was the coach of the U.S. under-20 national team that went to 4 World Cups, and we used Buenos Aires a lot of times as a prep before qualifying or before the World Cup. And even there at times I was able to spend some time with Diego Maradona, obviously rest in peace, one of the most gifted players we've ever seen. But he was a character, no doubt about it, both on and off the field.
Yeah, I mean, at that point in the late 80s, he was still pretty much near his peak, or only just coming off it. What was it like as a man? What are your stories from spending time with him?
Some very interesting ones. Several that involved spending days without sleep. I was the designated driver, and I had 3 Argentinians in the car, and I tapped out after about 2 days. I literally turned back and said, "Guys, somebody else got to drive. I got to go home and sleep." Later found out that they continued. Sad but true, and funny at times, but also if you look back at it, the guy with a lot of demons.
And could you see those demons? Were they obvious, even though you hadn't known him for years and you weren't a close personal friend? Could you tell, pretty quickly after meeting him that those demons were with him?
There were a lot of ups, but also a lot of downs. Staying up 3 days meant sleeping for 2 days thereafter, and then just continue the same cycle for weeks, months, and end. And still able to function quite remarkably well. He used to train with us just for fun, and he would show up in time, and was a great teammate, a great guy off the field, but also, as I said again, a guy that lived with extremes.
Thomas, were you ever just desperate to say to him, just get him on his own and say, Diego, stop, just for a while, stop, and become what you were again. You can do it. Were you tempted? Was it possible? Was he too far gone?
I did actually, through translation. My Spanish wasn't the greatest. His English was poor, but the two players that played for me were fluent in both English and Spanish, and I felt compelled as a coach to try to get the best out of people and to look at certain situations that might not be right. So I did try. I didn't go very far. I ended up in the pool actually once. There's a picture of me and him in the pool where he literally throws me in the pool and goes, "Hey, ¿qué pasa, Tomás? You not talk to me like that." I go, "Okay, Diego, tranquilo, take it easy." But I have fond and fond memories, both personally and professionally, from Diego.
You know, we're probably the fake tree guys. We got a pretty big one, but pulling them in and out of the house. I don't know if you've ever loaded in and loaded out real trees very often. We've tried it before. It's quite a thing. You're picking pine needles out of your house for about 6 months. So we've gone the fake route. I guess I'm a fake Christmas tree guy, but that's all right. It looks great.
I feel like I just found out Bob Dylan went electric. This rocked my world, man.
Wow.
I kid. But no, I will have you know this, that you are actually considered, according to some of the research we did before the show, you're considered one of the smarter people because dry trees, this is astonishing. Dry Christmas trees cause 100 fires a year to the tune of $15.7 million in damage. So you might be saving yourself a couple of bucks there with that plastic one. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Well, I'm not surprised, And in my house, generally the family comes over and somebody's going to be burning a cigar at some point. So that's probably good that I don't have a real dry tree in my house. Yeah.
It's a fire hazard. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I will ask you this music question because I did not know this. Did you know that Jingle Bells was written for Thanksgiving originally?
No.
How about that?
Are you sure about that?
Here's the research. We did it's a Christmas spectacular, so we really hustled. We dug deep for these people. And this is the actual song. It was written in 1857 by James Lord Pierpont. It was published under the title One Horse Open Sleigh. And it was supposed to be played in the composer's Sunday school class during Thanksgiving as a way to commemorate the famed Medford sleigh races. So Jingle Bells actually had a gambling connotation. You could be betting money on those one-horse open sleighs.
That is, I don't doubt that it's true, but I refuse to absorb that into my subconscious. Jingle Bells has to be Christmas, man.
It is.
You can't be red pilling me on Jingle Bells right now. Come on.
That's getting serious now. I mean, but it does make me wonder if when Burl Ives came out with Jingle Bell Rock, it was a reaction to him having a good day betting on the sleigh races. And he was out painting the town, perhaps. Is that too deep?
You might be the first Christmas conspiracy theorist. I think you should run with that, and I will check in on your posts.
Jimmy Fallon standing up to Big Christmas. I'm going to get the Christmas deep state is going to be exposed once and for all, John Rich. Answer me this.
Big Brother Santa, right? Big Brother Santa.
He is watching, by the way. It's not just the CDC. Santa's watching. He knows when you're dining indoors. He knows when you're getting together with big groups. Let me ask you this, man. An iconic Christmas movie. We were talking about this off the air. A Christmas Story with Ralphie. Could that movie be made today in the era of cancel culture?
It could be made, but it would probably get ripped limb from limb. You can't. I've got a lot of friends who are comedians, live in L.A., live in New York, Atlanta, places like that. Man, they're all, and most of them are Democrats, and they are like, we can't even. We'll come up with something funny to talk about, and we have to run it through this filter of, am I going to be canceled if I tell this joke?
Goodness, yeah.
I mean, it's gotten pretty out of hand. So I don't know. I kind of err on the other side of, you know what? make the movies you want, write the songs you want, tell the jokes you want. We still got freedom of speech. It's like my granddaddy used to say, if everybody likes what you're saying, you're not saying it the right way. You know,
that is so
somebody somewhere. Yeah, I mean, everybody's not going to like. If everybody likes what you're saying, then it didn't have any impact. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Well, that makes me feel better about this show. Gosh, I can't.
You're good. You're good.
John Rich, I do love talking to you, man. Merry Christmas. We're going to play the crew out on your new song about God. If you could give us a quick synopsis about that, because that's the big closer.
Well, it's a song called Earth to God, and it's a song that I wrote a few months ago, just watching the chaotic nature of our country and of the world in general. And, you know, I realized, you know, the one thing we all do have in common is we're all created by God. We answer to Him, and He is there. And so the song is about us as humans reaching back out to God and asking for His help in these crazy times. And that spawned a very simple song, Earth to God.
You're the best, John Rich.
Thanks, brother.
Merry Christmas to you, buddy. There he goes. When we come back, Lincoln Philip will tell you why you won't find any bad kids in Iceland this Christmas. But first, here's the great John Rich singing Earth to God.
With us. I'm sure they released that as a single.
I bet they did.
Yeah.
I don't know who sang it. You'd be really annoyed, though, if you only remembered for the Raccoons theme, wouldn't you?
And for some reason, it reminds me a little bit of another song called You've Got the Touch, which was taken from the Transformers animated movie when it went to the big screen. This is years before the
So this isn't Robots in Disguise.
No. This is You Got the Touch, You Got the Power. It's a fantastic song, believe me.
But we could do an hour on just the theme tunes of these things. Listen, Alex Ferry, Big Boy Barry, Pie Man, Pie Boy, lovely to talk to you tonight here on Talk Radio.
The best of Christo Fupas on Talk Radio.
Let's sing a heartfelt song to...
Views will be welcome, of course, in future weeks. Mayo at bbc.co.uk. Here's our final round of the very popular annual once only with Trivial Pursuits. The final round, sport, is the subject matter for some unearthly reasons. So here we go with your questions. It's 7-all at the moment. Question number 1. Who won this year's BBC Sports Personality of the Year?
It was. Hang on. Even if I get the sport right, is it a motor racing driver?
It is a motor racing driver, but you are going to have to say who it is.
No, I know, but hang on. But okay, I know nothing about sport, but the fact that I knew that it was a motor race. What's his name? Can I have half a point for knowing that it was a motor racing driver?
No.
Alexander. No, I'm not going to get there. Yeah, but I'm not going to get it. It's a motor racer. I don't know anything about sport. Who is it?
I'm singing a song from a well-known big hit movie, West End show, Broadway musical.
Are you?
Yes, I was singing Alexander Hamilton.
Hamilton. Yes. I don't know what his first name is though.
Anyway, I think that's no points.
So what's his name?
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton.
Which question number 2? Which member of the royal family competed in the 1976 Games and is now as president of the British Olympic Association and a member of the International Olympic Committee? Which member of the royal family? Princess Anne is right, but Princess Royal is obviously...
I said Princess Anne.
Is correct, absolutely.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you very much. That's a point. Do you know how I know that? Do you know how I know that? I've been watching The Crown to get to the episode when she said tippity top instead of tinkety tonk.
Question number 3. Who are the current Premier League champions in England?
Right, the Premier League champions in England. So is it which football team?
It's football.
Who's the head of the Premier League in football?
Okay, so yes, who won the title?
That it ended and didn't continue on. And sure, the MLS is professional and very respected, but nothing will compare to the stars that were over here in America in the 70s. And as Thomas knows, the game was just growing back then. For many people, that was the first soccer that they've ever watched. So they didn't actually know that they were watching some of the geniuses of the century playing. So I think that they didn't know how good that they had it, and people of my generation sort of look back and just say, like, wow, look what we had, and it's such a shame that we didn't continue it, and what could have been different. I mean, the Premier League, as we know it in the UK, could be in America. So yeah, I would say that there's just such a mystique behind it, and it just seems like the past years of the golden age of football in the US.
You're listening to World Football on the BBC World Service. Our special guest is Thomas Rongen, who's been telling us some fantastic stories about his days as a player in the North American Soccer League, a pageant of stars that is kind of unimaginable in the current era. But as I said at the start of the programme, after his playing days, Thomas became a coach and in 2011 took charge of American Samoa. 10 years earlier, American Samoa had lost 31-0 to Australia in a World Cup qualifier. Unsurprisingly, it's the biggest margin of victory or defeat, depending on your point of view, in a match between two FIFA-recognised nations. Thomas, had the players got over that remarkable thrashing, in every sense of the word, really, by the time that you arrived?
No. And I knew I had 3 weeks of prep and then the week to 10 days for the 3 qualifying games. American Samoa is known for producing quite some great athletes that do well in the NFL. So I knew there was some athleticism on the island. I looked at some tapes and knew that this team was not 20, 18, 16 nothing, which they would lose quite easily. And when I eventually took the job, which is great. I just got fired from U.S. Soccer, but I still had 6 months left of my contract. So the president knew the lad, he calls me and goes, you want to go to American Samoa? So I remember looking at my wife and going, which American Samoa? She goes, it's in Polynesia. I go, yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go to Polynesia. Then I look at the FIFA rankings, they're last in FIFA. Then I see the 31-0 loss and going, oh my God, what do I get myself into? But what a great experience, and this was a star team without a doubt.
Which included, I mean, when you went there, the goalkeeper who conceded 31 goals was still the goalkeeper. I mean, what kind of state of mind did he have?
I forced him. He worked for AT&T in Seattle. The only way males can get off the island is either enlisting in the army or find a family member that can get them a job, which Nicky Sapulo, that's the goalkeeper, had. So I reached out to him and I said, Nicky, would you want to play? And he goes, no, I don't. And I go, why not? I'm a loser. You know, I walk to the city with my son. They look at me, are you the guy that gave 31 goals? I'm done with soccer. I convinced him to come back, and I used him as a rallying cry, you know, emotionally. If we can't do it for Nicky.
You should know as a 12-year-old who is very supportive of the President of the United States. But right now, we're here to discuss another big man, that, of course, being Kris Kringle, being Santa Claus.
I thought you were talking about Joe Biden.
No, Joe Biden is...
the big man.
Well, Joe Biden...
You're the big man, Joe. Tell him, Joe. Tell
how does that work? Does Christmas in the Biden house, do you have to give away 10% of your presents to the big guy? That's funny.
No, you just get some cash from Ukraine out of the blue.
I should have known. I should have known this was coming if I had you on the show. You know, they always say, like, you know, you've got to be able to put the politics aside at Christmas time. All of the adults in our family can, but Lincoln...
No, they love Trump, so that's the thing.
But but they all get along fine. But Lincoln is not, he is not giving the election, the politics, a night off, not even for Christmas. Well, Lincoln, let's stay on message here for a second. America is not the only place celebrating Christmas as we speak tonight on the radio across the world. I want to give you some fun facts about Christmas that I thought you might find interesting. Did you know that in Iceland, they have 13 Santas and an old lady who kidnaps children?
What the hell did you say?
I'm not even kidding. Let me read this to you. Christmas in Iceland.
You sure you're not that old lady?
No, well, I'm not kidnapping children. Come on, man.
No, look at your mustache.
Listen to me. Growing up, I was a fat kid growing up, so I had the ultimate deterrent against kidnapping, which is the fact that I was fat, because kidnapping is a crime of speed, and it takes a lot longer to get a fat kid like me into the car. So I was always safe.
You got king-size Snicker bar?
Yeah, that's the problem now. Is if you're trying to kidnap a kid in 2020, they're like,
You got Wi-Fi.
Yeah, do you have Wi-Fi in there? Does the candy contain peanuts? before I get in your van, Lincoln, but stick with me. Iceland, 13 Santas, an old lady who kidnaps children, and the deal is, okay, they have the 13 Santas who show up each day in the 13 days leading up to Christmas. They're called.
Oh, so they've got it started already.
Yeah, they're called Yule Lads, okay? And they come to the house and they fill shoes that kids live under the Christmas tree, either with sweets and small gifts or rotting potatoes, depending on how that particular child was behaving on the preceding day. But the mother of the Yule Lads, half troll, half beast, an old woman named Grilla, kidnaps naughty kids and boils them in her cauldron. I'm not even kidding. Could you imagine telling this to your
I can't imagine seeing your search history after looking up these facts.
All right. Get him out of here.
So, like, if any FBI agent's going through your stuff and they see, like, stuff about, like, Mother of Iceland, Santa's kidnapping and
why is
boiling
this Jimmy Fallon looking up Icelandic women who kidnap kids at Christmas? You're right. You make a good point. Remind me to throw out the laptop after this, son. Lincoln Fallon, what do you want for Christmas, little boy?
I want a puppy.
Do you really, though?
Yes.
This is the problem with a puppy, okay? I mean, we have a dog. We have a really happy cat. A puppy this time of year, it's hard to potty train a puppy.
Doesn't like me.
Well, the cat has reasons not to like you, because when Lincoln was a little kid, what do little kids do to cats when they first meet them?
Pick them up and throw them?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, cats don't like sudden movements. And when you're a little kid, you walk around. Yeah, you might as well be a drunk. Exactly. You pick the cat up by the face. You pet it like you're hitting it. Because you're a little kid. You have no couth. You have no tact. So the cat justifiably doesn't like you. But I think you could demonstrate in your more advanced age, you're 12 now, that you could be a little bit more respectful and safe around the cat, and then maybe win her over. And then maybe at that point we go out and get a puppy. What do you say about that? You just want your damn puppy?
Yeah.
Ah, man. Well, maybe you should write a letter to Santa, son.
No, the best feeling is seeing, like, a brand new tiny puppy. Bixby would like him.
It is? No. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're working me on the air. In front of he's actually giving me a sad kid
Twitter
face.
Your comments are going to be insane after you don't get me that puppy. And I'll be checking your Twitter. I want a chocolate lab.
Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Oh, a chocolate lab for Christmas.
Brutus.
Well, you've come a long way since you were a little
Brutus
kid.
the Buckeye.
Well, you've come a long way since you were a little kid. And you used to play that song, I Want a Hippopotamus. Do you realize if that kid in that song...
it would, like, bite off his head.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The end of Christmas.
Yeah, that kid... No one ever talks about this.
I want a
But it's true. In the song, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, if in fact they got the hippo, the whole family's dead. Like, maybe they did get the hippo.
No, we should get a goat. We should get a goat. Mommy, we need a goat.
It's so funny because if there was a follow-up to I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, it would be called, like, I Want a New Mom. Because the hippo mauled the... I mean, it's not safe. But the point is, there's a billion ways to enjoy Christmas, and we hope in some capacity that this was one of them for you. It was an honor hosting the Fox Across America Christmas Spectacular, even with my wild madman of a son, Lincoln Fala. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Don't forget to listen to Fox Across America with me, Jimmy Fala, weekdays from noon to 3 on foxacrossamerica.com. Merry Christmas, and to all, a good night.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network, Getting Schooled with Abby Hornacek.
Fox News Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel. Can you just talk to me about the basics of a filibuster?
Two different versions. There's giving a long speech on the Senate floor to make the point that there is a severe protest about something going on in the Senate. The other way is getting together 40 or more senators to vote against something.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
Class dismissed.
Did you hear the news? Now you can. With instant updates from Fox News for Amazon Alexa, breaking stories and top headlines, daily coronavirus developments, the economy, and so much more. Brought to you by Fox News, America's #1 cable news network. Plus, setup couldn't be easier.
Congressional correspondent Mike Emanuel. Can you just talk to me about the basics of a filibuster?
Two different versions. There's giving a long speech on the Senate floor to make the point that there is a severe protest about something going on in the Senate. The other way is getting together 40 or more senators to vote against something.
Subscribe and listen now by going to FoxNewsPodcasts.com.
Class dismissed.
Did you hear the news? Now you can. With instant updates from Fox News for Amazon Alexa, breaking stories and top headlines, daily coronavirus developments, the economy, and so much more. Brought to you by Fox News, America's #1 cable news network. Plus, setup couldn't be easier because everything's ready to go in the app. Just say,
Alexa, play news from Fox. In Fox News.
It's the latest when you need it, on demand from Fox News and Amazon Alexa. Fox News Radio, on air, online, on demand. The latest news, your favorite talk show hosts, the hottest podcasts, all in one place. America is listening to Fox News.
Authorities calling it intentional. I'm Mary Corsetti, Fox News. The mayor of Nashville, John Cooper, has issued a state of civil emergency and a curfew until Sunday after a vehicle parked in downtown Nashville exploded early Christmas morning, causing major communication outages that took down police emergency systems and grounded flights at the city's airport.
This morning's attack on our community was intended to create chaos and fear in this season of peace and hope. But Nashvillians have proven time and time again that the spirit of our city cannot be broken. But we're not going to rest until those responsible for this outrageous and cowardly attack are brought to justice.
3 people were hurt in the explosion. 2 law enforcement officials tell the Associated Press that authorities have found human remains in the area of the explosion.
The explosion knocked one of our officers to the ground. I think one officer sustained some what we hope is temporary hearing loss.
Don Aaron of the Nashville Police Department. Downtown has been sealed off and a $10,000 reward is offered for any information. Also new today, a massive spending bill passed this week is now in doubt after President Trump voiced objections to the legislation.
It's unclear if President Trump will sign legislation providing $900 billion in coronavirus relief and $1.4 trillion in full government funding.
Perhaps the only mistake was believing the President and Secretary Mnuchin when we were told that the bill we passed would be signed by the President of the United States.
House Democratic leader Steny Hoyer says provisions took months to negotiate in a bipartisan manner and with White House input. President Trump is now demanding Congress increase stimulus checks from $600 to $2,000. The president also wants foreign aid reevaluated, but Republican Senator Roy Blunt says the $2,000 payments will not be approved in the Senate, and reopening the funding bill threatens a government shutdown.
Fox's Jared Halpern. I'm Mary Corsetti, and this is Fox News.
Podcasts Network. Download and listen to Everyone Talks to Liz.
Had my guest today quit after the 10th business he had started, he would have missed out on becoming Silicon Alley's first billionaire. What kept him going? I'm going to ask John Oringer right now.
Each failure you learn from, it took a lot of learning to get to success. The interesting part, I didn't think Shutterstock was actually going to be the one that worked.
Subscribe and listen now by going to FoxNewsPodcasts.com. Did you hear the news? Now you can. With instant updates from Fox News for Amazon Alexa, breaking stories and top headlines, daily coronavirus developments, the economy, and so much more. Brought to you by Fox News, America's #1 cable news network. Plus, setup couldn't be easier because everything's ready to go in the app. Just say,
Alexa, play news from Fox. In Fox News.
It's the latest when you need it, on demand from Fox News and Amazon Alexa.
President-elect Joe Biden says he won't discuss details of the investigation into his son Hunter's business dealings with any potential nominee for Attorney General.
This is usually a major cabinet decision, and in this case, whoever the President-elect Joe Biden selects to lead the Justice Department, that Justice Department is very likely going to be still putting his son, Hunter Biden, under investigation next year. And the incoming White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, says that Biden is still going through the decision on this, and he says that the investigation into his son will have no bearing on that. Now, reportedly among consideration for Attorney General, former Deputy Attorney Attorney General Sally Yates, Alabama Senator Doug Jones, and Judge Merrick Garland. Remember, President Obama chose Garland to fill a Supreme Court vacancy. The Senate Republicans blocked Garland's appointment.
Fox's Rich Edison. Meanwhile, the French health ministry says a case of the new strain of coronavirus was detected in the French city of Tours. The person who tested positive for it is currently self-isolating at home and is okay. This as President Trump is signing an order requiring coronavirus testing for air travelers entering the country from Britain.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention put out word late Christmas Eve saying anyone coming into the U.S. from the UK has to test negative for COVID, and they have to do it no more than 72 hours before their trip. That order starts Monday. The UK is seeing a rise in COVID cases triggered by a mutated version of the virus. The CDC says early research on this variant suggests it may be up to 70% more transmissible than what we've already seen. The CDC says that if a passenger chooses not to take a test, the airline must prevent that passenger from boarding. Dozens of other countries have banned travel from the UK, including China. Jill Nato, Fox News.
I'm Mary Corsetti, and this is Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network. Stay on top of the latest news and information from Fox News. Listen and download the Fox News Hourly Update on your time. The trending stories you need anytime you want it. Listen and download now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. From the Fox News Podcasts Network. Subscribe and listen to the Trey Gowdy Podcast.
We've got to find a way to stop suggesting that the only way we can lose is if the other side cheats, or the other side suppresses votes, or the other side commits fraud. We can all lose. And all it takes is the other side to get more valid votes. And there's a reason we have words in the English language like upset, surprise.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. The Fox News Rundown is a weekday morning podcast that dives deep into the major and controversial stories of the day. Hosted by the anchors of Fox News Radio. Subscribe now to hear a perspective of news you won't find anywhere else. Listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
From the Fox News radio studios in New York City, information you want, truth you demand. It's Brian Kilmeade.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the Brian Kilmeade Show. Remember, you can always watch us on Fox Nation. Listen to me on BrianKilmeadeShow.com anytime, anywhere. If you ever have to leave our family of affiliates, your local affiliate. And if you ever want to order the podcast, you can get it on Spotify, iTunes, and iHeart. I mean, it's really fast growing. I prefer you listen live, but if you can't, I just want to know you are listening. This is a chance for us to look back in this week, this break week we had of this incredible year, and some of the interviews that really stood out. For example, Jay Winnick, the esteemed historian, took on the issue of renaming schools because they're named after people like Abraham Lincoln. That's a real story. He wrote the book 1865. He knows how great Lincoln was. But coming up now is my interview with one of the finest, funniest guys you'll ever meet, conservative writer P.J. O'Rourke. Here's a listen as he talks about his new book and the country today. A cry from the far middle, dispatches from a divided land. He's taken on socialism head on. We're all appalled by the fact that it seems to be resonating in today's world. In fact, almost 50% of young people seem to view socialism in a positive way. Young adults, and it's only growing from there. 7 in 10 millennials say they'd vote for a socialist, hence Bernie Sanders. It's not because of his hair. P.J. O'Rourke joins us now. Hey, P.J., welcome back.
Wow.